Today we're going to be talking about text structure. And text structure is how a text is organized, how the information is presented to the reader. This is a choice that's made by the author when they're writing whatever it is that we're later on reading. They can organize the information in many different ways. And today we're going to talk about the sequence text structure. Now you may be familiar with that word sequence, and you might know some synonyms for that word or some other words that mean the same thing. So when we think of a sequence text structure, sometimes we might think of a chronological text structure or an ordered text structure. And we're going to see a little bit more about what this sequence text structure looks like while we're reading. Here's an example of a few sentences that follow the sequence text structure. See if you notice any specific words or phrases in this short excerpt of text to help you understand what a sequence text structure really is. First, gather your materials. Next, combine the mix, eggs, water, and oil. Then, pour into a pan and bake for 20 minutes. Brownies. So think about, how is this text organized? If you look and see some of the key words that we have underlined, first, next, and then, you might realize that these sentences are organized in order. So the first thing that you're supposed to do is listed first, and other steps follow in that order. So the sequence of this is how to make brownies. It's a list of steps that you can follow to make brownies. This is just one example of how a sequence text structure can be used and how the reader can realize that this is the text structure that the author chose. Many times we can display text structures, sequence text structures in a flow map. A flow map shows multiple boxes with arrows between them, showing the direction or the order of events that occur. So going along with our last passage or our last few sentences, we'll see what this would look like in a flow map. So our first box in our flow map would be our first step or the first event in the order of events in our passage. So the first thing that happened was gathering materials, gathering supplies or ingredients for our brownies. The next thing that happened, you can see that an arrow is pointed towards the next box. The next thing that we were asked to do was stir mix, eggs, water, and oil in a bowl. If you follow the arrows, it says the next thing that we were supposed to do is pour into pan and bake for 20 minutes. And the final box would be to let brownies cool and enjoy. Using a flow map helps us organize these events that we might read about. So while you're reading any text that follows this sequence structure, you can use a flow map to organize your thoughts. This helps us go back and figure out where certain information might be in our text, and it also helps us organize our own thinking about what's going on, which events happen before or after other events, and the sequence that we are supposed to follow. Recipes aren't the only type of text that follow this sequence structure. Let's read another passage and see if we can figure out the difference between this information and the brownie recipe. In 1991, Miss Williams was born. 4 years later, she got a puppy for her birthday. When she was 18, she graduated from high school and went to college at NCSU. This is a passage about my life, and I chose to write it with a sequence text structure because I'm going in order of the events that happened in my life. I only included a few events from my life, as you can see, but I started at the beginning when I was born. So that is the event that happened the longest ago, but it happened the first in my life. After that, I followed in order. After a few years, I got a puppy. A few years later, I graduated from high school, and so on and so on. This sequence text structure is helpful when talking about the lives of people because you can organize major events of their life in order using this structure. It gives you an idea of what that person's life was as they were going along, when they were younger, when they were adult, and in the later years of their life. example before you just showed, many biographies have this text structure. Again, this is so we can see the events of a person's life in order that they occurred. Sometimes these pieces of information are organized in timelines, as you can see. Timelines are a linear list of events that occur in chronological order, or in order of the year that they happened. So in your timeline, at the very beginning, you're going to have the earliest events. So in 1991, as you can see, it says, "Happy birthday, I was born." As we go on a few years, in 1996, another big event in my life happened. As you travel down a timeline, you can see later events that happened in a person's life. And this is often helpful to use in biographies because you can see the year that these things occurred as well as whatever the event is. Timelines and flow maps are both really good uses of supporting organization tools to help you kind of organize your thoughts and organize the information that you read or the information that you're going to write if you're using this text structure. So if you're studying biographies and you pick someone that you would like to study, as you go along collecting information about the events in their life, you can organize them into a flow map or into a timeline based on the year that they occurred. This can help you organize your thoughts, and it also helps your writing become more organized for whoever is reading. This makes sure that you keep everything in order, everything in sequence, to make sure that it is more understandable and more clear for both you and anyone else who is reading your work.